Thank you so much. Our food system is broken. It's riddled with all kinds of dysfunction and paradoxes, and it's unjust and most likely unsustainable. We live in a nation where 99% of the meat we consume comes from the horror chambers known as factory farms, where in many neighborhoods it's easier to get drunk than to buy good food, where farm workers make about half of what people outside of agriculture make, where in our public schools, budgets are being balanced on the backs of the sales of so-called competitive food, also known as junk food, and where, sad to say, pizza is still considered a vegetable on school menus. Where if you buy a tomato almost anywhere from the months of November through June, it will come from Florida, it will be picked green, and it will be ripened with ethylene gas. Where the average American eats a pound of sugar a month in the form of sugary drinks, where that monument to legislative dysfunction known as the Food and Farm Bill contains billions of dollars every year in subsidies, primarily for commodity crops, and the top two of those are corn and soybeans, and in the same bill provides funding for nutrition education to prevent people from eating products made with corn and soybeans. And where inexplicably a product called honey sauce exists, you can find it in hotels, restaurants, it contains exactly 11% honey. Okay, that's the bad news. The really great news, and the reason I'm here tonight is we're working together to change that, and you can feel and see and measure that change. It's a reawakening that may border on an actual revolution. So what we're doing is essentially trying to undo 2 generations of relying on a profit-driven corporate system of food production and distribution that's essentially made our health decisions for us. We're creating a stronger food system that's fair and just and healthy for people, for other living creatures, and for the planet. And you see evidence of that everywhere. Farmers markets, community gardens. The USDA has implemented new standards for school food. School gardens, chefs are celebrities, bakers have groupies. There are 2,000 craft beer manufacturers in the nation, with a new one opening every day. There are shops that sell olives, that sell chocolates, that sell cheeses exclusively. And words like gluten-free and quinoa that just recently might have sounded very exotic have entered our vocabulary. In fact, the word localvore itself was the Oxford Dictionary Word of the Year a few years ago. Even large retailers and restaurants, and we're talking the biggest of the big boxes, are modifying business practices and changing their menus for the demand that we've created for better and healthier food. Even social media and crowdsourcing has helped create the change. The most recent victory being that 3 of the largest fast food chains in this country have discontinued using lean, finely textured beef, otherwise known as, does anybody know? Pink slime. It comes by its name very honestly. So the artisan has become the ordinary, and that's a great thing. While the public health benefits and the environmental benefits of all of these changes are well known and well documented, I'd like to speak about something that resonates with me and something that we see here in this community, and that is the social benefits of good food. When we grow and prepare and share food, we bring ourselves closer to one another, we break down all kinds of social barriers, and we actually have a chance to share our cultural and ethnic heritage. So, I'm calling tonight's talk The Tao of Food, or Doing Good by Eating Well. Even the everyday language we use, as English speakers, I think most of us know that we've assimilated many, many words from all over the globe into our everyday language. A considerable number of those have to do with food. So this is a word cloud of just a random sampling of those, and this is Exhibit A. So if it were not for the universal language of food, we as Americans, or as English speakers, would not be able to walk into a delicatessen to nosh on pumpernickel with schmaltz and a gherkin on the side. And that would really be a tragedy. In fact, we could say that the English language reflects the great smorgasbord of food as a universal language. Smorgasbord, of course, being of Swedish origin. We start at farmers markets, one of my favorite places where community and food intersect, and one of the great gathering places of the 21st century. There are somewhere around 5,000 farmers markets in the nation. Michigan has the 4th highest concentration of those markets. Last year, nearly $12 million in food stamps or SNAP benefits were redeemed at farmers markets. So clearly that model has been very successful in bringing really good food to cities, towns, villages, etc., but also in giving the people who grow that food an opportunity to sell directly to consumers. Here in town, we have farmers markets at health clubs, in an artist studio, at a Fortune 500 company, in churches, in hospitals, in government buildings, in parking lots. They are ubiquitous. And what I really like about farmers markets, besides the good food, is the social interaction that you get. A recent study showed that a customer at a farmers market will have between 15 and 25 social interactions in the process of shopping for good food. That same person would get only 1 or 2 at an ordinary grocery store. This is the Douglas Farmers Market here in town on our north side. It opened last year with 4 market dates. Based on the demand from both consumers and vendors, it expanded this year to 13 market dates, and it will expand further next year to a full season market. That's really exciting. It's not just bringing good food to an area that richly deserves it, though. It's bringing all kinds of social interactions. At each market date, there's people listen to music, people dance, kids play games, people learn and share things. Children might see farm animals, and people really get that chance to interact. Community gardens, my, let's say, second favorite place where food and community meet up. Again, our community is blessed with a great abundance of community gardens. They could be those with individual plots where everybody grows their own food, or they could be a place such as this, the Oakwood Garden here in town, which is essentially just a giant piece of land. People share the work of growing food, and then later in the season they share the food. You might be able to see that this little handmade sign says, "Fresh veggies, help yourself." I can't think of 4 words that better exemplify what a community garden is all about. In addition, you can find youth programming in community gardens, group volunteer projects, even things for disabled people to do and raised beds, that sort of thing. We also have a project in town that grows food strictly to be donated to homeless shelters, to soup kitchens, and to food banks. That's a very common model. Many other gardens here do it. This particular garden, which is operated by Master Gardener volunteers, last year grew 11 tons of food to be donated. This year, despite the lousy spring weather, they're on pace to grow even more than that. So that's a fairly profound thing. Some church gardens, including some in our community here, have what they call a Leviticus garden, where in addition to what they're growing for congregants, there's a spot where anybody in the community, without any questions asked, can stop by and help themselves to good food. A new shared community project called Common Ground is now underway here in the community, and it provides some support and resources to people who may not have access to the resources to start a garden at all. So within the program are cash grants, plants and seeds, shared use of garden implements and tools, education, and even, in some cases, the availability of land. This is the seed exchange, and as you can see, it was an exciting time. And this is in March and April when seeds are exciting. The estimate for this program is that around 40 or 50 gardens have been affected by it. So again, the impact is profound, and we'll get a sense of how profound it is after this growing season has ended. This is Katie, who operates an urban homestead right here in the center of our town. She has fruits, vegetables, herbs, chickens, and she uses the garden not just as a space to grow food for her very large family, but also as a place for people in the community to help themselves. She'll actually go so far as to post on Facebook that people can stop by and help themselves to extra veggies on her private property. She also makes a note that if you want to pull a few weeds in the process, that would be okay too. And Katie has even reached out to one of the local street gangs here in town, which does what they do very near her garden, and has had some success with giving those young men an alternative, a positive alternative to doing what they might ordinarily do. Just in case you're not aware, with Katie, so on your right would be 1992 Nobel Peace Prize winner Rigoberta Menchú, who I should point out did not come into town just to visit Katie's garden. She was in town for another event, but having a Nobel humanitarian standing in your melons and greens is a fairly profound sign that you're doing something right. Good food also brings an economic impact. Here in Michigan, about 923,000 jobs in the state are food-related. The economic impact of that business is $91.4 billion annually. That number has grown 52% just in the last 5 years. So, and most of that growth is within the food sector. So food is an economic driver to what we do as well. Here in our community, the Can Do Kitchen is the region's only licensed commercial kitchen that's also a business incubator. It provides a space for people like Barb and Tammy here, who make awesome granola, to test market a product, test their ability to run a business, and if things go well, to start their own food business. The program does already have 2 graduates, so 2 new small food businesses have incubated from this program. The program also supports people who might not have access to the resources that many of us enjoy, and we'll be implementing a scholarship program next year. The reach of this program is kind of global in a way, but maybe not entirely. So these women are from various parts of West Africa and had come into town to find out more about kitchen incubators. This person is well known to those of us who live here or have lived here. This is Judy, who, as you can see, is a baker. Now, tragically, Judy's bakery burned a few months ago, and while nobody was injured, she did lose the business. What's exciting is that Judy, initially the support was that came in the form of people missing Judy's products. We missed the challah, we missed the anise bread, we missed the punchkis. But people really miss Judy. This is a woman who has mentored many, many people, who's given jobs to many, many people, including Larry Bell, who would go on to found Bell's Brewery, which is now #7 in the nation for craft brewers. When Judy made the announcement recently that she would be starting the bakery up again in a new location, then the spigot of community support really opened up, and it appears almost certain that, as Judy would say, the dough will be rising once again in the spring. So once again, that great, great intersection of food and community. Food can even be a powerful tool for youth development, education, job skills training. This is Harvest Fest, an annual event that focuses on food and farming and sustainability, and gives kids of all ages, in most cases, their first taste of farming demonstrations and food production. We also have many school gardens here in town. Some have their own greenhouses. One has its everyday activities integrated into the school curriculum, so it's much, much more than just an extracurricular activity. There is a cultural center here in town that has a culinary arts training component and teaches kids those job skills, teens, but also serves a lot of vegetarian meals through their catering program. So these are really just a few examples of what feels like a great groundswell to me. Canning and cooking classes are selling out. People are bartering again, using strawberries or eggs in lieu of cash for transactions. Some local businesses make a point to hire ex-offenders. Many of them make a point to hire people from within the neighborhoods they serve. Here in Kalamazoo, we've established a powerful support network that's built around local food, and even though that work is well underway, I feel we've really only begun to realize the potential of that work. However, this is all about ideas worth implementing, not those that have been implemented. So, the revolution, I think, starts and builds on very much a grassroots level. And so, here are some ideas to consider that you can implement right away, or at least within the next 6 months. Grow food in your backyard. Better yet, grow food in your front yard and share it with your neighbors. Teach your kids how to grow food. They'll eat what you grow. Landscape with edibles instead of ornamentals. Forage for food. However, you might want to do so carefully and possibly with an expert. Tour your local breweries or wineries or coffee roasters. Talk to farmers and baristas and brewmasters and, of course, brewmistresses. Visit farms, or better yet, volunteer on those farms. Visit a food pantry or soup kitchen. Take the food stamp challenge, where for 1 week, those of us who have access and the ability to buy food live as food stamp recipients do, which currently amounts to $4 per day per individual in benefits. Be more active in public policy, whether it's city commission, your county commission, planning commission, school board. Raise hens in your backyard. It's either not illegal or legal in most communities, and for those where it is illegal, get the ordinance changed, which the local community of Portage did recently. Make family dinner a sacred time. Have a potluck, a community barbecue, an ice cream social. Can, freeze, make jams, jellies, salsas, sauces, bake a pie, and set it on a windowsill near an open window. Cook from scratch, make soup stock. Find your grandmother's or mother's recipe book or recipe cards and use them. Get to know your county extension people. Test your backyard soil, compost, rotate your crops, use native plants. Don't use chemicals on your garden. Use beneficial insects, organic soil amendments, or just pull weeds. Seek organic, fair trade, heirloom, and heritage foods. Avoid fast food and quasi-food and instead focus on slow food and real food. Put good food in everyday dishes. Squash goes nicely in mac and cheese. You can bake beets into brownies, I guarantee you. Please eat real honey and real maple syrup and eat more kale. Food is an absolute essential part of who we are and what we do. Our communities need healing. We've become disengaged and disconnected from one another and from nature. The work won't be easy, but the path is clear. We do good by eating well. Thank you.